Hey, everybody. This is the husk of a person formerly known as Marion Cowagowan. Marion has ceased to be because her husband just made her watch Mandy.
Yep, this is David Owen.
Ordinarily, I would be bright and cheery and tell you, this is You Show Me Yours, the podcast where a married couple talk about the movies and TV that they loved before the first date. But I do not have the energy for that right now because what the actual fuck did I just watch? Okay, Dave, explain.
You have questions?
I have... Really, what I have is really kind of a combination of anger and disgust that this movie exists. Think of all the works of art that have not been distributed publicly, and this has.
This is like the picture of the Virgin Mary made out of feces of the film world.
No, because the Virgin Mary on her own is a beautiful thing.
And justice is a beautiful thing.
Is
Mary.
that what this was? I didn't get any of that. I just saw insanity.
So
okay, you're gonna have to lead this because
sure.
if I talk, all I'm just gonna talk about is how gross and stupid and bad this is.
Okay, well, Mandy, of course, is the 2018. I'm going to butcher this. Panos Cosmatos movie. It is a revenge movie and a trippy visual heavy metal synth ride through insanity in the 1980s. Yeah, you have questions?
Why is my question? Why?
Why? This is your Jeff Goldblum moment. You were so interested in if you could,
yes.
You didn't stop to think if you should.
Yes.
Yes.
So, yeah. Well, so 10 minutes in, I said, Is this going to get better? Because this is really dull.
And it does, right? It gets
better is not the word I would use. And then about 20 minutes before the end, I said, oh God, is this going to be over soon? Please make it stop.
It's relentless.
Yeah, that's a way to describe it. Can we say props to Linus Roach?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's
for committing and chewing the scenery. And I think I've only seen him in a couple things, mostly Law and Order.
Yeah. He's the new Watterson, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think. I don't know how they
same role, like the not the DA.
Jack McCoy is looking on in horror, like, what did you do? What did you do? And that's actually what I'm saying too.
Are there any plot clarifications you need?
Why the animation interludes? At the end, we see what looks like two moons.
It's heavy metal, baby.
What about heavy metal?
It's heavy metal. Like, literally, there's a cartoon from the 70s called Heavy Metal and a magazine called Heavy Metal that mixed, like, heavy metal iconography. Like, one of the things that this movie is very clearly referencing is, like, the aesthetic of heavy metal from, like, the 80s, right?
It felt very 80s, which I do not mean as a compliment.
Oh, no, it's awesome.
I mean, like, I'm sure it took work to achieve that, but it
feels very 80s, and I mean that as a compliment. It's so they're very, she does these like fantasy paintings and drawings.
Yeah.
She Mandy.
Nicolas Cage's wife.
Yes.
We don't ever really
Red. His name is Red.
Okay. We don't get full introductions to their characters, really.
No.
But yeah, her name is Mandy.
she does these, fantasy heavy metal inspired drawings and stuff. She's reading this book. I'm not going to claim to be some scholar of this movie. To me, the ending where Red is driving away from finishing his business and they pan up and there's multiple moons in the sky seems to be a reference to the book that she's reading. It's, everything is like tied together, right? Like Red seems to be like embodying the character in the book that she was reading. And in the book, on the cover of the book, there's multiple moons in the sky or suns or something. I mean, this movie is just full of imagery, and that's his MO, right? Like his other movie is called Beyond the Black Rainbow, which I haven't seen, but by the time this airs, I may have seen it because it's on my list of like 30 Days of Halloween for this October.
Okay.
But that, the director it's all about the visual stuff with him. And yeah, a lot of the stuff is left up to interpretation, but yeah, the movie is very much like aping that style of heavy metal from the 80s. There's a tiger in it just so that they can let the tiger out and it can roar in front of like a red sky. Like it's amazing. Like the moment to moment, like this movie is just like wankery for me because I'm always talking about how the visuals work in a movie, and this movie is just nonstop, like amazing single shots and amazing scenes and visuals and colors and just so much going on.
I guess, okay, so you said plot questions.
Sure.
I guess. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm talking like I'm drunk. I'm not. I'm just, like I said, I have ceased to be. I'm a husk of a person now. So Linus Roach, who is like a cult leader, decides that he wants Mandy.
Yes. Sands is an amalgamation of Manson and Jones, the Kool-Aid Man. Like, he's a out of his mind cult leader,
prophet/god figure,
prophet/failed musician, much like Manson was a failed musician.
Oh, okay. So he decides that he wants Mandy. For what is not really made clear. I assume for sex, but
yeah, and to like put her into the fold, right? Into the group.
So he stages this elaborate kidnapping, but they've got to call forth some beings that I assumed were the undead.
Yeah, they're not.
Okay, they're just.
So they are so the wonderful Bill Duke is in this movie.
Yeah.
And he explains what they actually are. And it's easy to miss because they're billed as sort of extra dimensional or from hell or whatever. He lays it out. They're a group of bikers. The chemist who we meet, who has the tiger, they were running drugs for the chemist, and they did something to piss him off, and he gave them a tainted batch of LSD.
And they've never been the same.
Which twisted them into these things that they are now. And Jeremiah has like an ocarina that's made out of like lava rock that can call them forth in exchange for a jar of the LSD goop that fuels them.
And blood.
And blood. They sacrifice a member of the cult to the, I think they're called the Black Skulls. Was that what they're called? I can never keep straight I can never remember the name of the biker gang or the name of Jeremiah's group. It's like the Children of something.
So, and they're like the muscle. Yeah. They get into the Mandy and Red's house and like overpower them, and then they just sort of skedaddle. And Jeremiah and crew do whatever it is they do to Mandy, and then they burn her and they leave Jeremiah for dead. And then Jeremiah is seeking revenge, and he goes to Bill Duke and he's like, "It's the biker gang," but it didn't make sense. What did I say?
Red is, you said Jeremiah. It doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, okay. But he didn't really see them, so why? I don't.
Well, he saw them when they're awakened by the bikers, so you assume. he gets some kind of glimpse of them.
Okay. All right.
And I mean, somebody tied him up, right? Like he's tied up with barbed wire in the outside.
Yeah.
So presumably the bikers tied him up.
Yeah.
This isn't the sort of movie where you want to be like, oh, but he never saw them. Like it's not that kind of movie. So yeah, like
what? Okay.
He got some, he knows about the bikers.
Okay. All right. Sure. I'm also curious how he's not dead by the end, because he's been stabbed and had a nail through one hand.
Yeah.
And umpteen other stuff. But then also when he sees his wife in the car at the end, I'm assuming that like he's dying.
Sure. I mean, that's a reasonable assumption.
I feel like that's really the best outcome for him.
Sure. Yeah. He's going to join her. The two moons and everything, the fantasy cover at the end is, he's going off to join her. Who knows? Yeah.
And at some point he took like a lick of this potent LSD and immediately like imagined his own flesh melting off and everything.
Yes.
So he's so far gone. I feel like death is a mercy at this point.
Yeah. I mean, wherever he's going, it's not good, right? He's either going to end up like the bikers.
Yeah.
Just some twisted thing, flesh and, the bikers are kind of Cenobites from Hellraiser, like they're pain pleasure kind of.
I was getting, Hellraiser vibes, plus Near Dark vibes, like the crew that goes along and only works at night and all these other things. And the music is
awesome.
I feel like that is very Hellraiser too.
Kind of. Yeah.
Or I don't know where else we've heard
it's
that.
This very dark,
it's very 80s
type stuff. Yeah, it's 80s in that way. We've talked about this before. Music didn't sound like that in the 80s, but when you're like evoking 80s vibes, if you do this sort of dark synth, people will say that sounds very 80s, even though if you lived through the 80s, like maybe 2 songs sounded like that ever.
Okay.
But
it all has, like I was noticing at the beginning, the credits are something about the typeface has an 80s feel. It's like a little bit grainy. It's similar to when we've been watching Poker Face, the renowned TV show with Natasha Lyonne only on the Peacock Network.
Yes.
And that has a very 70s feel through the credits. And this is similar, not far off, set in 1983.
Yeah, and that's all intentional. Like, the film grain is added in and stuff, or appears to be. I don't know. Maybe they actually did film this on actual film.
So technical props for the feel of the 80s. It feels very true to the time that it's set in.
Oh, yeah.
And there's some interesting, I think they overdo this kind of shooting everything through a filter or a gel or whatever where it's tinted, but they do an interesting thing where Jeremiah is giving this lecture, soliloquy, whatever, to Mandy. They've drugged her and he's trying to, I don't know what he's trying to do. Like he's trying to seduce her, trying to get her to join the cult. I don't really know.
Yeah, he's trying to bring her over. Yeah.
And then she laughs at him.
Yeah.
Which is frankly a logical response.
Well,
and then they burn her. So
she's laughing she's laughing both at his lame Carpenter's-esque song that he's playing that he wrote about himself and at his pee-pee that he shows her.
Yeah. It looks like he's masturbating.
I think there is a thing of like, it's a little bit. I wonder if there's like a more graphic or more graphically implied version of that scene where she's laughing because he can't get it up, maybe, and he's trying to, but the way that it's truncated in this version, that's not clear. Exactly.
That's fine. I don't need it to be clear, but I'll also keep in mind she's drugged. They put something in her eyeball.
Yeah, they say that's the chemist's best stuff. So some kind of LSD.
And they had some kind of insect sting her,
like a prehistoric hornet
in her neck.
Sting her. Yeah, it's like a 5-inch long hornet,
I
like a
don't
yellow jacket that they have
know.
stinger.
So she's not really in her right mind. Like, I think logic says it's not a good idea to laugh at the leader of a group that has
Yes,
taken
that
you
has
hostage.
taken you,
But
yes, that apparently can summon demons and taken you hostage.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's giving her this soliloquy, and it's a close up on his face, and it's kind of bleached looking.
Yeah.
And it almost looks like it combines their faces.
It does.
Because I noticed she's got
3 times.
She's got this gnarly scar under one eye, which is never really explained. I don't know if the actress just has that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she does or not.
But that sort of appears and disappears and reappears.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. I don't really know what the point of that was, because at the end of his soliloquy, there's a cut back to her. So it's not, but it was interesting.
I think it's a little bit of, it's a stylistic choice because they probably wanted to intercut reaction shots from her, but they didn't want to cut off of him because he's giving this like scenery chewing performance.
She's not really reacting either.
She's just kind of
slack-jawed the whole time.
And the whole thing, they're trying to sell her trip. There's this like weird visual delay on the footage where like he moves and then there's a ghost image that follows him like a trail. Like, you remember when you used to put trails on your mouse in like Windows 95? It's like mouse trails following him as he moves. So they're trying to sell her trip, and so that whole scene is just, it's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love his like, he's like, do you like the Carpenters? You're going to love this. Like and then he puts on like the like lamest sort of barred ass sounding 70s like Ren Fair music, and it's just like it's not a bad song technically, but it's just so like they're doing such a good job of making one of those, because there were a ton of these lame pseudo folk artists that popped up in like the wave of like Dylan and Guthrie and all these people, and they were totally not genuine. And they were just trying to get famous on the folk train. So it makes perfect sense, for his purposes, that he was this failed folk artist. Yeah. And again, there's clear references to Manson there and his failed musical career.
When he's got what I can only describe as a padded bathrobe.
Oh, the robe is awesome.
On with like shoulder pads.
It's like the kind of robe someone would have worn in the original series Star Trek.
Yes.
When like, they caught Kirk in his quarters and he's in a robe. Yeah, it has padded sleeves and it's got like epaulets, shoulders. Yeah, that kind of point out. Oh yeah, it's amazing.
And then at one point he just undoes the tie and just presents his penis.
Yeah, it's out.
I mean, so I again, Jack McCoy is just like, what?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
This is one of those.
This is not how lawyers behave.
Right. This is one of those movies, and you get these movies. There's a comedian that has a bit on this that is like, you see a movie and they tell you what's in it at the beginning: violence and drug use, and then it says nudity, and you perk up, and then you watch the movie, and it's just male nudity because there's some drawings, some animated female nudity, but there's no actual female nudity in the movie. There's just male nudity.
There was the shot so at the beginning, they're trying to set up that this couple is in love, which I didn't especially buy. I found them both incredibly dull people, but okay. She's swimming in the lake and they have intense, creepy eye contact. And then she comes out and appears to be naked, and they continue to have intense, creepy eye contact. And that's it. And I was like, why?
Well, so you get the feeling. So here's the thing. I think they go, and I told you this when you were complaining about it being dull. Mm-hmm. I think they are going out of their way in the first half hour of this movie to show you how absolutely like normal and like, I mean, it's not necessarily normal, but just how uneventful their lives are, that they are living this simple life. Red is a lumberjack. She works part-time seemingly at a convenience store and is doing her fantasy art and reading fantasy novels and stuff. It is just this dull, basic life that they love. And that's how they want it, right? And you do get the idea from the scar, and from the fact that Red has like a named crossbow when he goes to he goes to Bill Duke's house, Bill Duke's trailer, and is like, "I'm here for I can't even remember
the Reaper.
The Reaper, right? You know, he's got a crossbow, and so you get the feeling, and he knows Bill Duke, so immediately like. So you know Red has some checkered past, and the scar on Mandy gives this indication that she has some possibly traumatic past. And it's just two people that we don't know really anything about, but we know are probably damaged goods who found each other and found this sort of like idyllic life in this, you know, Pacific Northwest sort of setting, and are just, it is boring as hell, but they love it, and they would do it forever. Like they're literally shown eating TV dinners and just watching, you know, stupid movies and just sitting in bed and talking about their favorite planets and stuff. Like it is the most purposely boring demonstration of how absolutely uneventful their lives are, so that the rest of the movie will be, by contrast, even more out there than it is.
And it took a good 20 minutes to show that.
I think they are committing to this idea of like, look at these two, you know, like there's something about them. But the thing I was going to say that led me into that, that I felt like I needed to get that out first. You get the feeling that Red, especially on multiple watchings, is having some kind of premonitions of what's going to happen, because he wakes up from a dream, like fitful sleep. She wakes him up. They're watching television. He's fallen asleep, and he's having like, you know, not a nightmare, but
yeah.
And she wakes him up, and shortly after he says, "Do you ever get the feeling maybe we should move away?"
Yeah.
And then there is the scene at the lake where she comes up out of the water, and he's viewing her through the fire, like she will burn later. So you almost get the feeling that Red is like, he's getting these sort of dreams or premonitions. He even has one of his dream after Mandy has been killed is of an animated Mandy turning around and being a zombie. And you wonder if that's the dream that he was having when Mandy woke him up earlier in the movie. So yeah, like the movie builds on like subsequent watches. And yeah, you start to wonder, like, does Red kind of know trouble's coming, even if it's just that sort of sense of like he's ex, you know, special forces or whatever he is? Does he just have this sort of like, I just got a bad feeling about this kind of thing, and he somehow senses what's coming? You know, I don't know.
Maybe. What's the dead animal she finds in the woods?
Yeah, I think it's a dead deer.
Okay.
I wonder if it's not a stillborn deer.
Yeah, it was very young.
It was very young. And just before that, you hear like pained sort of, you know, yowlings and mewlings of an animal. And I wonder if it's not supposed to be just like a stillborn deer. And then, yeah, I wonder, you know, like the symbolism in that, who knows? Like read into it whatever you would like. Is she seeing a premonition of her own death? Is she, you know, this is obviously probably the catalyst that gets her to tell Red the story about the starlings when she's a kid. Her dad has a bunch of neighborhood kids beat starlings into the ground, baby starlings.
The fucking fuck.
Yes, exactly. Perfect. The normal reaction.
If any of our neighbors did that.
Oh yeah. It's on.
I can't.
Yeah. But yeah. So I mean, this movie, once it's got this very calm beginning, and you hear stories of like people who are watching it at, you know, whatever film festivals it debuted at in 2018, walking out in the first 10, 15 minutes. But to me, a movie like that, and again, I'm on record for liking movies that you did not like that are like slow burn horror movies.
Yes.
To me, movies like that just intrigue me. When a movie is just showing me this sort of mundane nothing that's happening, I'm just thinking like, oh my God, like they're going to go somewhere with this. And sometimes a movie doesn't really pay off, and it sucks. But this movie pays it off, I think, completely.
Mm-hmm. For a movie that is very willing to show me gore,
Oh yeah,
I'm surprised that when they bring Mandy out to burn her, she's in a sleeping bag and you don't ever see her. And I thought that the twist was going to be, that was a fake and she was with the cult at the end. Like, he goes after the fire's gone out. There's something in there and it looks like a skull.
Yeah.
But then it blows away because it's all ashes. And I still thought, oh, that was fake. That was, the skull of the fat guy that they gave to the beast or whatever.
Sure.
And that was an odd choice for a movie that showed me all kinds of gross stuff. Why that? Don't get me wrong. I don't need to see people burning. Whether it's burning alive or burning dead. From the way the sleeping bag was moving, I think burning alive. I don't need to see that. But that was an odd choice.
Sure. I mean, I can see that. To me, I don't, it doesn't matter to me because that scene is about Red more than Mandy in that moment. We don't really need to see some explicit gory death for her. We're watching him reacting to it. And I think that says more than actually seeing, a prosthetic version of the actress set on fire or something. I mean, that's just my take on it. Like, I get where you're coming from. Like, yeah, it is. Why did they shy away from that in the moment? It could be cost related. Yeah. It could be, it could have been,
well, and that brings up my other thing. And we talked about this a little bit in, the Highlander episode, which that was a way back. I'm not comfortable with movies where the woman is raped, attacked, killed, whatever, and it's just all in service for the male main character. Like, now we get some sense of her personality, so I don't know. She seems like she doesn't have much personality, but anyway, we get some sense of her as a person, a little more than in Highlander, a lot more than in The Crow, which has that happen too. So there's a little bit more, but then that's it. We don't see her again until the final couple seconds, and I don't love that in movies. So when you say again, oh, that scene's not about her, the person who's being burned. Mm-hmm. It's about her husband. I don't really love that.
I get you 100%. I think that was such a thing in the 70s and 80s. These revenge stories, that influence things like The Crow. I think they're just sort of calling back to that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's on some level, it's lazy writing to do it that way.
Yes.
Although I would argue that in The Crow, she is pretty well fleshed out. She's getting married.
She's killed in the first 10 minutes.
Shelley is getting married. Shelley has all but adopted a transient kid. She is making noise about the living conditions at their apartment complex. She is arguably more fleshed out than Eric, whose only characteristic is he's in a band. So I get you. And this is, as someone who has seen The Crow 100 times, as someone who has seen it once, I can understand why you would not feel that Shelley is very fleshed out, but Shelley's personality, Shelley has a lot more character development than Eric actually does in the movie. Eric has a
whole movie about him.
No, he doesn't. He has a whole movie about his quest for vengeance for her, which is not about him because he's dead by the time that happens. And the thing to remember about The Crow too is they're both dead. Well, they both die in that movie. But I'm saying
anyway.
I get where you're coming from with that. And like I said, as someone who's seen The Crow once, I get where you're coming from with that. I'm just saying, I think Shelley is way more fleshed out than Mandy, whose only personality traits are works at convenience store, likes metal, likes 80s metal, and does fantasy art.
Well, okay, then same point, different order of movie. I
get you. No,
I'm tired of women's murder and torture being only a catalyst for men.
Yeah, it's lazy. I give it a little bit of a pass here because they are making a movie that is about and inspired by movies where that happened. So it's kind of,
That's no excuse.
It's an excuse. You may not think it's a good one.
That's a trope that we shouldn't continue to. I mean, if we just copy what's been done before, then we'd still be making Gone with the Wind. I don't.
Sure.
That's a terrible pattern.
Sure, but I mean, we are still making like The Wizard of Oz over and over again. But I mean, Stranger in a Strange Land, like, you know, there's all the. I'm saying, like, if they made this movie and it was set in 2023, I would criticize it right alongside you, without any sort of caveat. I'm criticizing it here with the slightest caveat that I think because they are placing it where they're placing it, it is a little bit more excusable than if they made a movie today where.
Well, I am on record as not liking it when it was Highlander made in the 80s and The Crow made in the 90s and this one. And I don't think that it being set in 83 gives it much of a pass. But anyway, it's whatever. It is what it is.
Sure. Yeah. And like I said, I don't disagree. I just have that smallest caveat that, like, I can understand how, you know, it's like Tropic Thunder. Like, there's some means by which to justify blackface in that movie. I'm not saying that I'm justifying it. But that's what I'm like. There is a reason in there built in that is trying to justify something that is otherwise objectionable.
Okay.
Whether it's successful at that or not is not for me to say. I'm just saying that's how I feel about this movie, that it is doing something that I might otherwise object to, but the very design of the movie, it creates the slightest, smallest little justification. But again, I agree with what you're saying.
Well, props to Nicolas Cage, I guess, for consistency of facial expression. I would say for the last like 45 minutes, he looks at the same time disgusted and bored.
And then when necessary, demented.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And that's actually one of the things I wanted to talk about with this. Like, Cage has, as his career has had ebbs and flows, one thing that you can't say about him is that he ever phones it in. I'm sure someone can find a movie where he phones it in. But
City of Angels, he phoned it in because that sucked. I will die on this hill. That is a terrible movie.
I don't think it's a great movie.
Anyway.
But he doesn't phone it in, right? And I'm not like City of Angels was peak Cage. Mm-hmm. I'm specifically talking about this version of Cage that sort of fell from grace around 2010 or 2008 or something, for whatever reason, I don't know. And he stopped getting big movies. Like, he'd do one every now and then, like a National Treasure. Mm-hmm. But he stopped. He wasn't leaving Las Vegas Nicolas Cage anymore. He was like something else, and he was regularly doing 5 to 10 straight to video movies a year.
I cannot believe, by the way, that the man who made National Treasure made this.
Yeah.
Like,
all right.
That is, I don't know if you call that an arc or range or a fall from grace or what, but those are two ends of a spectrum.
Yes. But the main reason I bring that up is to say that, like, not every actor who has fallen from grace does that. Like, you hear all these horror stories about Bruce Willis, and, you know, he's going through whatever he's going through, you know.
Yeah.
Thoughts are with Bruce Willis and his family. But you hear all these stories about these straight to video movies that he was making from, like, you know, 2015 to 2020 or whatever. And it was just like, he got on set and we were told that we had him for 2 days and we had to shoot all of his scenes. And he wouldn't come on the set for anything that wasn't a close up on his face. So 90% of the times you see him in the movie, it's his double or a stunt double. It's just, you hear these sorts of things of, like, these actors who have this name credibility and they're lending it to smaller projects and they're completely phoning it in. Mm-hmm. They're just completely saying, you know what, I'm better than this. I'm bigger than this. When the reality is that they aren't, or they would be in bigger, better movies, or be getting offered bigger, better movies. And then just totally phone it in. Cage is going to give you 100%. It doesn't matter if you are doing a student film. He is going to come in and he's going to totally commit to that bathroom scene in your movie
What
no
the
matter
hell? Okay, I feel like if I had full control of my faculties at the moment, we would talk a lot about that bathroom, because that is like peak 70s right there.
what. Oh, the bathroom's awesome.
Also,
yeah.
I think it's carpeted.
Yeah, I think it is, if I recall. Yeah, shag carpet. It's got a door that has glass in it. It's like frosted glass, but it's got glass in it. The wallpaper,
tiles, or wallpaper whatever
tiles,
that is like it's like an acid trip.
Oh, it's amazing.
And they have
this huge armoire in there that like takes up half the bathroom.
Yeah. And he keeps a bottle of vodka in there.
Well, you get they lay the hints down that he's a recovering alcoholic, and like that is not necessarily uncommon for like a recovering alcoholic to have stashed some booze somewhere in their house, and then to when they're at their bottom they dig it out,
pace around the bathroom and scream.
Yeah, but it's just you just feel like the director was just like, we're gonna put the camera on you, and you just do your thing. Well, and the camera kind of like moves a little bit, and it kind of comes in tighter to get a little more intimate as he's going through. It's not well done though. I think it's great. It's sort of shaky camera. I think that's purposeful. Like I read that shaky camera stuff as purposeful because he is in the middle of raw emotion. So like this tight dolly move and clean zoom, I think would just feel inauthentic. I like that the camera move is kind of shaky and it kind of, it doesn't struggle to frame him when he sits down on the toilet, but it kind of, has to sort of move and get the framing right on him for a split second. It feels very intentional and it feels very authentic to me. It doesn't to you, but it does to me. And it enhances the scene to me because, like I said, a really clean sort of clinical camera move would have made me go, oh, filmmaking. They're still making a film here. This just makes me feel like this could be a play. This could be a performance, because it feels that authentic. But yeah, they just clearly put the camera on. They're like, look, you just watched your wife burn to death. The demon men came and interrupt you in the middle of the night. Here's go. What are you feeling? And it's crying, it's angry, screaming, it's guzzling vodka, it's pouring vodka on his open wounds. It's all these, sitting on the toilet and going back and forth between screaming, angry, and weeping. Like it's peak Nicolas Cage. Just all in one scene. And this movie, and I love that scene. Like, I think it's great. You can criticize it for being like overdone or overdramatic or whatever. But I think it's perfect because it fits the way that this movie goes over the top. And it is paired within like a minute or two of the second best scene in cinematic history, which is the motherfucking cheddar goblin.
That was really one of the only parts that I thoroughly enjoyed.
It's amazing. It is just, if you haven't seen the Cheddar Goblin, just Google it. He comes in, again, he's just been bound up with barbed wire and forced to watch his wife burn to death. He frees himself through a lot of, and he's been stabbed Jesus style in the side with the blade of the abyssal whatever. And he comes in the house and he finds his favorite shirt, which is his 3/4 sleeve 44, not a specific sports team. It just says 44 on it. And it's his favorite shirt and has also been seen on Mandy.
And she was wearing it.
Doing the sort of girlfriend thing where she's wearing the man's shirt, and shirt is too big. Girl is very small. Shirt is entirely too big. And he picks up the shirt and he just sort of looks at the television, and then this Cheddar Goblin commercial plays, and it's just Kraft mac and cheese. But this goblin rises up out of a bowl of Kraft mac and cheese and then just starts vomiting macaroni and cheese onto these kids that are in the commercial. It's amazing. And I think it was made by one of the like Adult Swim guys or something, probably.
It has that flavor.
I feel like I heard that at some point. So it's just amazing.
Yeah. When was the TV turned on, by the way? Like, is it just the cult is just sitting around like, let's, because they were
presumably. Yeah, no, I think the cult turned the television on, like almost certainly.
All right. these are the things I ask to try to make sense of this chaos.
And that's when I say, it's not that kind of movie. It's not that kind of. It's like
I need order out of chaos. Like
like that great story that Mark Hamill tells about Harrison Ford when Mark Hamill on the set of the A New Hope was like, he was like doing like a continuity thing, and he's like, oh hey, but our hair, we're coming out of the trash compactor, but our hair needs to be wet, and Harrison Ford is like, kid, it's not that kind of movie. If they're looking at our hair, we lost them.
It's always everything's that kind of movie. I don't understand that. Like, yeah, because if people notice it, it's going to take them out. And if they don't notice it, whatever. But if they do, then you're done.
Yeah. But the thing I'll say about this movie is I love it. I absolutely love it. It's not for everybody. There are, the criticisms of it range everything from it's just, it's batshit crazy to just like, why does he linger so much on so many of these shots?
Yes.
Why are these shots so long? Why is everything randomly colored? Like, that's the sort of thing where you just go like, hey, if you don't understand art, just say so. Like, no, that is me being facetious.
Okay. Yeah. I try not to be an art snob, but I would not consider this art with capital A.
So this movie is totally art. But no, it's spectacular filmmaking. The thing is, the thing about it that shocks people, I'm trying to compose a sentence, is that it just hand waves away so many of the tropes of movies, like giving these very clear explanations. It doesn't necessarily always respect like the spatial stuff. There's all this talk about in The Shining, how there are impossible rooms and things, and that's done on purpose. And there aren't really any like impossible rooms per se here, but the way things flow inside their house doesn't always quite make sense. And you get the feeling that they just either didn't care or it was intentional. But yeah, it is a filmmaker that is exploring the medium of film. He's not being restrained by, because you could tell this story so straight up, like without all the colors, and you don't have to have a telepathic conversation between the chemist and Red, where he tells him to free the tiger. And then the tiger growls at the red sky. Like, but it's not style over substance, but it's prioritizing style. Because I do think that there's substance to this movie, but it's prioritizing style and making it the main thing. Like, can I get this? Can I deliver substance, but can I do it while prioritizing style? I don't think they're sacrificing one for the other in most of the scenes. But yeah, shots are a little bit too long. Character motivations are a little bit unclear. Backstories are a little bit less defined than you might like them to be. I don't think he cares if you think Red and Mandy are a love story for the ages. Because they think that they are.
To be clear, even if they're shitty people, nobody deserves to be waken up in the middle of the night and burned alive. Totally. So when I say that they're boring, that's not, or like showing that their life is boring and they're happy, like whatever. If their life was exciting and they hated it, doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter. It's still not.
And all the stuff around the bikers, like how are these guys, like they appear to have like railroad spikes driven into their arms, and one of them gets shot through the neck.
One has a blade for a penis?
A knife dick, yeah.
What?
He's got a machete dick.
Just don't do drugs, kids.
It's a machete dick.
Stay away.
Yeah, and he's doing.
Just say no.
He's literally like Tony Montoya-ing it, putting his face down in giant piles of coke or heroin, who knows? And when Red finds him, it's.
Oh, is that it? I thought he was trying to blow himself.
No, he's putting his head down into, because then Red snorts it afterwards. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he is trying to blow his knife dick. I saw his face at one point. His face is definitely in. He's definitely in the.
He does kind of have a powdery face.
Coke.
Okay, I'm trying not to think about it.
How does any of this shit work? What is this? The cult is very clearly just wacko Christian, Manson, Davidian bullshit until they have a dagger that they say comes from the abyssal plane, and they have an ocarina that they call a flute of whatever, and the horn of Abraxas, and it's made out of lava rock, and it summons demons. The movie is like very into playing with this idea of like what is all this stuff. And it gives you a grounded real world explanation. And all these guys eventually die like normal people. The one guy gets an arrow through his neck.
That's supposed to pierce bone.
Yeah. But then shortly it has his head chopped off and he's dead.
Yeah.
Knife dick man gets his throat slit and bleeds out all over Red's face.
Oh, God.
And weird skinny man gets his
falls on a chainsaw.
No. I'm talking about the biker. The biker.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The guy who initially is holding him against the radiator. He throws him down a pit, but then he comes back. Did you get that? That was the same guy?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I didn't.
After he fights Machete Dick, he is accosted by a biker, and he breaks the guy's neck in like spectacular like kung fu movie style. That's the same guy that he beat with the pipe and called a special snowflake in the room where he threw him down the hole.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. But yeah, like it loves to play with all that stuff and to not give you any real definitive answers and just be like, look, I don't know. The whole thing might even be a dream.
Well, you know how I love that.
Oh, I know
things
how you
being
love
vague.
That. Yeah. And yeah, the whole thing might be a dream. Red lies down, or it might be his death wish, his death vision.
Yeah.
He drops down on the bed after the Cheddar Goblin and falls asleep. Yeah. And that he might die right there. And everything that you see for the rest of the movie might be a dream. It might be his death throes. Who knows?
Because he does have a fresh stab wound, remember? So.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And, and they could have done more with that. They could have done like an action movie style. He heats up a knife. Also, let's not, we don't need to forget to mention that he makes a fucking axe, like a heavy metal axe out of, like he forges it.
Molten metal and then like, polishes it so it's very sharp and
it's
has
great.
The mold ready to go and that's this dude's got a past,
right? Again, this guy's got a past. Like we don't even know what's going on with this guy because and they could have tried to explain any of that, and like the axe is like not even used to great effect. He has like one fight where he uses it, then he throws it from off screen and digs it into some guy's head. And this movie loves shooting blood everywhere and shooting blood onto stuff and onto people.
I was thinking of the bloodborne pathogens. Oh,
yes. And just the special effects are on point. The animated stuff is great because it's so heavy metal. And when I say heavy metal, I mean heavy metal music, but I mean heavy metal the magazine / movie, which is this like tripped out heavy metal. Like heavy metal. Do you know about heavy metal the movie?
No.
So
please don't tell me about it.
Real quick, it came out in the 70s.
Okay.
And heavy metal was a magazine that featured fantasy heavy metal art, like the kind of stuff that Mandy would paint, right? But it was like it was this sort of unapologetic sort of like we're going to show cartoons with their tits out and shit like that. Like we don't care about any of this stuff. We don't care about this censorship. We don't care. Like these are cartoon ladies, but they got a bush, and here's an ice penis, and all.
Also,
this.
you know how I love that.
I do. And then they made a movie out of it, and the movie is a series of stories, and they're kind of in different animated styles, and they're all harkening back to like stuff from the magazine. And it was just, again, it was a sort of pseudo underground film. Eventually it was widely re-released, but it was kind of like hard to find because again, it was cartoons with nudity, so it was weirdly hard. I will make you watch this. No, it's on the list.
I will file for divorce.
You have to learn the story of the Lochnar.
Absolutely not. I refuse.
You got to learn it.
No.
And so anyway, like it is very like this movie is wearing its inspirations on its sleeves, like, and then sometimes she's literally wearing them on her shirts. Mandy wears several different heavy metal band shirts during the movie. Yeah, and at that sort of stuff, the execution is so high level and so well done. Those little animated sequences. The tiger, the scene at the ending, which looks just like an album cover, the two moons and everything, and the sky with all the craggly rocks, the vision that he has when he does the LSD goo, his face melts off Indiana Jones style. He has a vision of the tower where the chemist is located, which is great, which you probably didn't pick up on. And there's all flashing lights and suns, and probably there's probably in there somewhere like a zygote splitting, like the cells where they split, and then there's 2 and then there's 4. I'm sure that's in there somewhere.
You mean, and there's probably also a train coming through a tunnel and a geyser.
I hope so. But yeah. I mean, this movie is an experience. Everybody should experience this movie if you haven't.
No, they shouldn't.
Yeah. Oh,
no, they shouldn't. No, I actively regret the time that I spent watching this.
It's 2 hours and 1 minute of your life that you will not regret.
Yes, you
giving
will.
up.
Yes, you will. I need to watch, I don't know, something simple and soothing as a palate cleanser now.
And you get to see Linus Roach's Ding Dong.
Could have lived without that.
So, or you might not. It could be a prosthetic. I don't know.
It was a little small to be a prosthetic.
I don't know. It seems average.
That's what I mean. Like,
oh, you mean like if they were going to make it a prosthetic, they would give him a hog?
Yes.
Yeah. They would give him a baby's arm down there.
Hog is their new favorite term for penis. Thank you, John Fetterman.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, y'all,
it's not over.
No, it's not.
We got more. No,
oh, Jesus.
Yeah. No, I don't really know what else to say. This movie is a mad trip. Please watch it. And despite your trauma, the next time we watch it, you're going to appreciate it.
No, I refuse. No, this is seriously, this is grounds for annulment. I really can't. Y'all, if you have anything to tell us about this movie, if you were forced to watch it by your spouse and you were equally traumatized and you want to sympathize with me, let us know. If you love it for some unknown reason, tell him. I don't want to hear it. You can reach out to us a couple different ways. Our handle is the same for all 3. It's YSMY Podcast, YSMY for You Show Me Yours, where you're at gmail.com, or you can find us on Facebook or Twitter. Basically, if you want to tell us that it's bizarre and you hated it, message us through Facebook. If you liked it, message us through Twitter, because he gets the Twitters and I get the Facebook. So know your audience. Also on our feeds, you can find our links to our latest episodes. We have new episodes every 2 weeks, except for during October when we have an episode every Wednesday of the month.
Spooktacular.
And I perhaps unwisely let Dave pick all the movies that we're watching. And what are we watching next week, Dave?
We're unsure. It could be an audible. The plan is to try to track down Vampire's Kiss. It is difficult to do. There are streaming services that have it, but I don't really want to get 1,000 streaming services just to watch movies for this podcast. So there are suitable replacements. So we will either be watching Vampire's Kiss, or as our audible play will be Color Out of Space.
Okay. Is either of them more batshit than Mandy?
I would say the Cage performance is crazier in Vampire's Kiss, and Color Out of Space is based on a H.P. Lovecraft story. So,
okay, good to know.
Do with that what you will.
Okay, well, folks, next time I hope I will be more myself. It depends on how batshit the movie is. So we will see you next time with Nicolas Cage movie TBD. In the meantime, this has been You Show Me Yours. Mandy is insane. The end.
Bye.
Bye. You know how people need like sugar or alcohol after a shock?
Yeah.
That's how I feel right now. I don't think that I can bring myself to be bright and cheery for this introduction.
Just do what feels right.
You are not ready for what feels right.
Just do what feels right.